Well, Maggie, just give us your reaction to this report today. Does the report go far enough? Did the report find that there had been a cover-up, as some local people started to suspect?
What I'd say, Daisy, is that unlike Rochdale and Augusta in Manchester, I didn't actually work in Oldham. So I can't speak in detail about the cases other than that of Sophie. And I would like to use her as an example of what I say was an attempt to cover up her story and block her from this inquiry. You know, I've heard Andy Burnham today, and I've also heard the new Chief Constable trying to imply that these are historic failures again. What I want your listeners to know is that in February of this year, I've been supporting Sophie for almost 3 years, and she came to me to say she still hadn't been asked to contribute to this review. I went to the review team, and they had been told by Oldham Council and by the police that Sophie was not prepared to speak to them, that she didn't want to speak to them. Furthermore, they were led to believe that if they pursued her, that she was at risk of committing suicide. Now, if that isn't a cover-up, I don't know what is. And it was only because of my support for her and my pressure on the review team that her story is in this review. I would also say that the review makes it very clear that in the 15 years that Sophie has been fighting to be heard, she took her complaints to the Professional Standards Board, to the IOPC, to the Home Affairs Select Committee, and none of those saw fit to tell Sophie that the identity of at least 2 of her abusers, that she didn't know they knew the names of, were known to them all along. They have not been prosecuted to this day. I don't know about the political cover-ups in Oldham because I don't know enough about it to say whether it is or whether it isn't. All I would say is that this is too little too late. And if you add that, Daisy, to the knowledge that I work with my foundation now, supporting victims and survivors. In the past 6 months alone, we have been approached by 33 completely separate victims and survivors of sexual abuse in Manchester. We have taken those serious cases to very senior officers within GMP, and yet 6 months later, all but one of those cases has still not been progressed. So when the chief says that we have moved on considerably in all these intervening years, I would remind him of all those cases that are sitting on his desk. I would also remind him, Daisy, of the 2 cases that he went on national TV last year and gave personal assurances that he would take them forward. Those victims are still waiting for action in those cases. So words are very easy. This report says that GMP should work with the Maggie Oliver Foundation. We are there to help them. But what I am not interested in is a talking shop. I don't want to make friends. I want action, I want change, and I want victims to be heard and the prosecutions to go forward. That is what we need as a country, not more cover-ups.
Well, Maggie, I couldn't agree with you more. And Just to let listeners and viewers know that when Maggie's referring to that GMP, she's talking about the Greater Manchester Police, and it was the Chief Constable of that police service today, who I listened to the same as you, Maggie, and thought, he's saying all the right things. He's saying we're so sorry and I want to apologise to Sophie and so on and so forth. But he didn't at any point say those police officers that turned her away at the police station have been chastised, have been sacked, some sort of recompense has happened. He didn't seem to offer any practical solutions. And as you said, all of them kept seeming to say this was a long time ago. Well, it wasn't that long ago, was it?
No. February days, it was 3 months ago. February was 3 months ago. The 33 cases sitting on his desk now are from this year. These are not historical failures. They are still continuing today. And the foundation, we are bending over backwards to go to them, advocating for victims and survivors who come to us in despair because they have already told their stories to the police. They have been fobbed off. Their cases are not being taken forward, and they come to us for help. We are trying our very best, but we're not getting progress fast enough. And I want to see action, not apologies and not excuses.
And Maggie, what sort of political help or support are you getting? I mean, for instance, we know that Andy Burnham's been talking about it. Obviously, we know there are lots of local members of Parliament who will be aware of these cases. Are they lending you support? Are they putting pressure on?
Not enough. I mean, what I would say about Andy Burnham is he is the Police and Crime Commissioner. What I've learned is that really as Police and Crime Commissioner, he has very little power to force change. I would like to see him more outspoken about the failures that we are seeing today, because his team are most clearly aware of these failures, because we have been communicating regularly with his team and also with very senior officers in Greater Manchester Police. The conversations and the dialogue is extremely positive, but what we are not seeing is things taken to the next level and action following those promises of changes. Words are very, very easy, Daisy, but if I had £1 for every time I read one of these reports, I would be a millionaire. Every report says the same thing. Every senior police officer, every official says these are historic failures. And I am telling you 100% categorically that these are not historical failures. Things have not changed enough.
And
many of these many of these stakeholder groups and organisations that don't speak out are being funded by the organisations they are meant to hold to account. We don't do that. We're independent, and I will continue to speak the truth, even if I don't make friends along this journey, because it's the truth.
Well, I can tell you're making a lot of friends here who are people listening to you. But apart from people like you, shouting from the rooftops and saying there's something wrong, fundamentally, what can be done? What needs to be done? And is the problem still... Obviously, we've got a problem with making some of these historical cases, making the authorities sit up and take notice. But as far as the police's behaviour towards vulnerable children in the community, is that behaviour changing, or has it changed?
No, not enough. Training needs to improve. I'm involved with training police officers on the peripheries. I wanted to take victims and survivors to speak to new police officers. Greater Manchester Police Training Department blocked that initiative. I believe that new police officers need to hear from real victims. I think we need to see changes right from the top. We need a complete overhaul of the system, and that is really what is not happening. You've just hit the nail on the head as well, Daisy. All the front pages today are not covering this story. They're covering trivia. We need a national response to this. It isn't just Greater Manchester Police, sadly, even though they are still in special measures. This problem is throughout the country. Even Sadiq Khan, who I very rarely agree with, has said that we need, root and branch reform of the police, and I think we do. Chief constables are political pawns. They are doing the job of the government. Yeah. The government needs to pull the finger out, fund policing, do a proper job, and so prevent this happening to the next generation of children. That is what I want to
Maggie,
see.
I've run out of time. I could talk to you all night. I really could. I just want to congratulate you for all the work you've done and for pushing as hard as you do. And please come back another day, Maggie, and we'll talk about this.